Bruce Cassidy returns to Boston today to face the Bruins, a team that recently and lately is in ruins. Can VGK build momentum off of the game that he took against Toronto? We'll dig in next right here on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you find your podcast. And please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel that's Locked On Golden Knights. We are brought to you today by Gametime. Download the Gametime app today. Use the promo code Locked On for $20 off of your first purchase. Chris, the host of TSN 1050 in Toronto earlier in the week asked Bruce Cassidy if Cassidy would wear his Stanley Cup ring behind the bench at TD Garden tonight. And he says, wouldn't that be something? It was pretty funny, but he does have his ring with him because he brought it home for show and tell with his family. And, of course, he quipped there, but who knows? I mean, if he does or not. How bad do you feel Cassidy still wants to beat Boston? Cassidy was there for 6 years in Boston, and he reached the Cup final, as we know, in 2019.
Your intro is interesting. You're talking about the Bruins, the tailspin that they're in. But it's not like the Golden Knights are in exactly a great place either right now.
A one-game winning streak, though.
Yes, a one-game winning streak. But listen, Golden Knights are in a better spot. I mean, the ring, that's interesting. I mean, when his response is simply, wouldn't that be something? That's I like it. I guess. How bad does Cassidy want to beat the Bruins? Really bad is the answer. I mean, you hear about this from the players. You hear about this from Coach Cassidy. You hear about this all throughout the season when a team is playing, when the Golden Knights are playing someone that has a tie to the team, it gives the team extra juice. It's not that you want to go back there and stick it to them necessarily, but you kind of do. And I think that's even been said before. You take it personally, right? You know, Cassidy brought this team to the playoffs for 6 straight years. And, you know, Cassidy was this coach that was redeveloped, so to speak, through the AHL and stuff. And what someone like a Knobloch or a Jay Woodcroft would want to become, right? You know, and but Cassidy did a good job in Boston, did a great job continuing the development of that team, trying to get them to a cup. It didn't work out, and 6 straight playoff runs wasn't good enough to keep him there. So he said, I'll go to Vegas. I'll get my Stanley Cup ring. Peace out.
Peace out, for sure. 245.
You know, it's like Cassidy will be doing this a lot when he's there. This is not my middle finger, it's my ring finger. Just, you know, scratching his chin a lot. You know, he's got itches and stuff, and he's doing arm stretches. You know, I don't think you're going to see Cassidy doing that, but it'd be pretty funny.
245, 108, 46 his record in Boston. Cassidy said that he feels VGK has a good challenge on its hands tonight, but Boston is a team that has slumped of late. The Bruins have a 3-game losing streak. They have lost 7 of 10. And the last 6 games, Chris, the oddest stat, I think, in the NHL of all time, last 6 games have gone past regulation. That's into overtime or shootouts. And Boston has lost 4 of 6 in a bizarre stat.
So you want to get a little more bizarre here. Look at the last, we're going back to February the 8th, February the 6th. The Boston Bruins lost 4-1 to the Flames. They beat the Vancouver Canucks 4-0. Thank you, I guess. And then going to the 15th, Seattle Kraken defeated the Bruins 4-1. Kings defeats the Bruins on February 17th, 5-4 in overtime. Edmonton Oilers, the Bruins beat the Oilers 6-5. And then a 3-game Pacific losing streak. Flames, Canucks, Kraken. But like you said, all those games go into overtime. So that says to me that whatever is happening in Boston with their scouting of the Pacific Division isn't working out too hot. So the Golden Knights are catching the Bruins at the right time in this strange overtime/losing conundrum that they're in. And hopefully the scouts took this night off as well, because the Golden Knights, outside of the Bruce Cassidy Bowl and all the outside things that are going to affect this game potentially, what matters is 2 points for the Golden Knights right now. Edmonton Oilers, they got there in overtime last night against the Blues. Of course, Connor McDavid finally comes alive in overtime, so the Golden Knights couldn't widen the gap, I guess, a little bit, if whatever the best way to say that is. So big game, get 2 points, and if the Cassidy effect is going to help the Golden Knights, then use that as positive momentum to get some juice.
Be kind to our friends up north, please, because they're our number one listeners right now on Locked On Golden Knights. We are huge in Canada, so let's be kind to them.
Yes.
Okay, and Boston Blue leads against Vancouver and Seattle, and Jim Montgomery said he blasted the team because they don't have the right attitude. So things could go sideways. They're clinging on, right? I think they're still tied for first place in the division. But David Pastrnak has 85 points. Marchand is 53. Charlie Coyle's having a good season. Not sure who we will see tonight, but they're talking about perhaps trading Ullmark, as Jeremy Swayman now has stepped up, 18-6, 249, and 920 save percentage. And we'll have to see what happens. You know, a telltale sign that perhaps Montgomery could be losing this team. Players, I think it was the third time this season that players have missed a meeting. So earlier this week, Derek Forbart, he missed a meeting. And so their team rule, I think Marchand did as well. Team rule, that's it. You're a scratch. You're a healthy scratch in the game. So that's a telltale sign that perhaps there's no discipline or something's just gone awry there in Boston. I don't know.
Montgomery did a wonderful job in the regular season last year. He's doing a pretty good job in the regular season this year. What does Montgomery have once the playoffs come? That obviously we don't know yet. All we know is what happened last year. So I think Montgomery is going to end up being a very good coach in the NHL. I would assume so based on his pedigree. But at the same token, if you don't perform in the playoffs, it's absolutely irrelevant anything else that you do at this level. So we'll see what Montgomery has. And this is certainly a game that Montgomery doesn't want to lose because of Cassidy on the bench with his Stanley Cup ring, scratching his chin the whole time and all that. He doesn't want to deal with that either. So we'll see how that whole thing plays out. And I'm really curious, 3, 4, 5 years from now, where Montgomery is in his career as far as accomplishments and such, because he's got a pretty good team right now. And the Bruins are among teams that can possibly win a Stanley Cup, as are the Golden Knights. Not necessarily among like the top tier of favorites, given what's happening with both teams this season, but let's kind of wait and see.
VGK, I asked you about whether before the Toronto game, I asked you about defensemen, and do you feel that they would be different now in this scheme under Bruce Cassidy, or more active, or what they would do, what their roles would become, right, against the Maple Leafs? Well, they're more aggressive, obviously, because you had 3 assists for Theodore in that game. You had a goal for Petro. He also had 4 shots on goal, and he had 5 blocks, and he never stands in front of the puck, that guy, anymore. Also, McNabb had an assist. He had 4 hits. He had 4 block shots. Yeah, I got a little carried away there on Petro, huh?
The one thing we never talked about on yesterday's show, and it's kind of upset me that
just hit me getting now. Tossed?
No, I don't care about that. No, Marchessault's intentional deflection from inside the defensive blue line to get a goal. That was I was doing my sports card show when it happened. I'm like, did Marchessault just tip the puck from 120 feet away? And sure enough, that's what happened. And I just prayed to God that would have been William Karlsson in that spot instead, because I'd be doing the show solo for the next week at least. You would have been suspended.
I would have been
suspended or under a tombstone.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yesterday, Cassidy reported, oh my goodness, the worst sound ever. they did the interview there with Coach Cassidy, and the players were there on the ice. You could hear sticks and pucks and people talking and yelling, and I couldn't hear for the most part what Cassidy was actually saying. But he did say, I believe, in between shots on goal, that the team worked on puck decisions in the neutral zone, on the forecheck, and they're working an awful lot on net front tip-ins because the ice shrinks at this time of year and the rush opportunities are few and far between.
That goes back to the downhill power play that Cassidy referenced, I want to say Monday before the Maple Leafs game. Yes, the rush chances will still be there and those below the goal line chances and cycles and such, but fewer and farther between, number one, especially when you're going against teams that are competing for a playoff spot or to advance in their current playoff spot. So greasy goals, get Kolesar's behind. I'll leave it like that. Get Kolesar in front of the net, get
Booty.
players willing to get dirty. There you go.
Booty in front of the net.
Be willing to get dirty, get those greasy goals, shooting low for sticks, pinballing that puck into the net. And this is the type of stuff that the Golden Knights were successful in down the stretch, and of course in the playoffs last year. And if they can replicate that, everything is going to be just fine.
In between all the noise in that barn yesterday, did Bruce Cassidy slip in the media gathering about perhaps adding new players at the deadline? We'll talk about that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Gametime has deals on tickets right up until the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats, to find exclusive flash deals and sponsor deals on tickets for football, for hockey, for basketball, baseball, concerts, and much, much more. And with zone deals, you pick the section. Gametime picks the seats. It's an average of 18% savings. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Use the redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back, Locked On Golden Knights, this Thursday edition of the big show here. And thanks to all of our folks in Canada, especially, for tuning in. That's going to die off, right? Because now we're back to playing domestically here in the States. No?
People are going to be paying attention to the Golden Knights. They want to see what's going on.
Okay. Well, you and I should definitely take over the Locked On Oilers account. I think we should do two shows.
I would love that, honestly.
I think the fans really love us up there.
So I'd be the heel of the show because I'm not an Oiler fan.
You would be?
I'm not an Oiler fan. I mean, what's another podcast where the co-host isn't a fan of the team, where he's kind of the heel?
Well, what about this show? What about? Okay,
you're the heel. You're not the Golden Knights fan.
Okay,
I'm not an Oiler fan. I'd be the heel.
You'd be the heel. Well, I think we'd have two heels there probably, but we definitely speak our truths. Don't forget, tomorrow is WTF What the Friday. It is a special Friday tomorrow because it is not only the beginning of March-a-So Madness, it is also, we're going to do our first ticket giveaway right here for the Vegas Thrill. So they play at home on Monday, and in our WTF segment, we will pick out three of you out there either tuning in on the YouTube channel or listening on the podcast. Send your comments in on Twitter and, of course, on YouTube or wherever. And we'll pick the top three, and we'll give each of you a pair of tickets for Monday's match, which should be a lot of fun against Atlanta. So definitely check that out. Saturday, it's the YouTube exclusive. It's the Chris and Chris show. So here's how things unfolded yesterday. Reporter asking Bruce about whether this is the time of year for teams to start to peak or to start playing better. He agrees, yes, it is. But he said you might have to wait until after the trade deadline because, quote, you might add new pieces. So is that a generality that he's speaking about, you around the league? or you as in VGK. I feel that this could be a you as in within the organization. I feel as though they're going to add not just one piece. I think they're going to add a couple of pieces here before the trade deadline. Thoughts? Am I reading too much into it? In between
No.
shots on
You're
goal
good. You're
and
good. You're good.
yelling
We
and
talked about
chirping?
this last night. I wasn't sure what direction Tony was going, so
I don't know what
I told him
direction
to
I'm
lead me
going.
into it. Tony walked me right to the front door there. Are the Golden Knights going to potentially add multiple pieces? I think was the final question. I think the answer is definitely yes.
I'm here.
The Guentzel, you're good. The Guentzel talk. I mean, listen, just looking at Guentzel, he literally 3 days ago just got back on the ice for the first time since suffering an injury February the 15th. He is not eligible to be activated off LTIR until 2 days after the trade deadline. However, NHL rules do allow a player to be traded while they're on LTIR. I literally was just Googling this stuff during the last ad read. So I'm learning.
You weren't
So
listening to my ad reads. Come on,
I am
man.
listening to your ad reads.
Okay.
I'm listening. I'm watching the clock, making sure you're in your 48-second window for it too. You're good.
All
But going back to Guentzel's situation, so like Jack Eichel, how long is it going to take Jack Eichel to be Jack Eichel once he first gets on the ice and starts playing games? It's not going to be the first game. It's not going to be the second, the third, even probably the fourth game. It's going to take a minute. Guentzel, I know nothing about as far as his recovery, if he's sustained long-term injuries in the past in his career. I mean, not really. I mean, the COVID year, he played all 56 games. He played 76 and 78 games in 21-22 and 22-23. He's played 50 games this season before suffering his injury in mid-February. So will Guentzel be – how long will it take Guentzel to become Jake Guentzel again? And it's going to be sometime around March 22nd to the 25th, a week or two after he's back on the ice playing in actual games, whether it's in Vegas or whether it's elsewhere. So I'm not in on Guentzel. I know it's being talked about, and obviously there's people that know a lot more. They know that Kelly McCrimmon knows a heck of a lot more than what me and Tony know. So if McCrimmon thinks that Guentzel is the plan, then so be it. We'll certainly be behind it, but I'm not in on Guentzel. I will say that right now, very comfortably. I'm in on Riley Smith. I'm not in on Guentzel.
I'm not in on Smith. I'm in on Guentzel. And
I'm not in on Smith by himself.
And you said McCrimmon knows more than us. Okay, they're not going to say over the past 3 weeks we've scouted Guentzel 50 times. They can't do that, at least. Okay, so again, I listened to a lot of radio in Canada. I listened to that Cassidy interview earlier this week, and that was entertaining about wearing the Stanley Cup ring. But Elliot Friedman and Jeff Marek talked on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, about the VGK and will they go after the Penguins left winger, as you mentioned, Jake Guentzel. And they said VGK has a lot to offer because they have a lot of players that are both on the fringe AHL and NHL players. So they do have some players now that are getting that experience up with the big league. And they also feel as though Pittsburgh would demand a high draft pick. So I just want to take a look. I took a look at the draft picks that VGK will have. They don't select until the third round. So perhaps they will need, again, a dance partner to help them out. They have a third, a fourth, and a seventh round pick. The third rounder comes from, I believe, the Riley Smith trade. The one in the fourth is for Aiden Hill. And then the one in the seventh, that was with CBJ. And I think that was a seventh rounder last year for a seventh rounder this year. So they don't have a lot of draft capital here for the Vegas Golden Knights. So I'm just wondering what they would have to do to sweeten the pot there. And maybe it is two of those fringe type players, Henderson, AHL, and VGK. And then one of those three draft selections. Would you give up a third and then say two players in this deal?
What am I missing right now? Because I'm on Cap Friendly right now. The only thing I'm not seeing is the Golden Knights not having a fourth round pick this year. And their seventh pick, their seventh round, they have their pick as well as CBJ.
I thought the one in the fourth was for Aiden Hill. Thought I saw this a minute ago, a while
Yeah, no,
ago.
I'm going on what I'm seeing on Cap Friendly. Cap Friendly could be
I'm
wrong. You could
making
have seen
stuff
something
up.
different.
No.
That's correct.
Cap Friendly's always right. I'm just making stuff up,
Fair
probably.
enough. So, by what Cap Friendly says, I'm seeing a first, second, and third for the next 3 seasons. The only picks the Golden Knights
A
do not have in the
first,
next
second,
3
and third,
seasons per Cap Friendly is round 4 this year and
right?
round 7 next year. They have all of their 19 of those picks still in possession, I guess. And
What's
unless
the
Cap
first
Friendly's
pick
wrong.
coming up here in 24 at the Sphere?
Yes, there you go. There you go.
Is it the
So
third?
the
Is it
Golden,
the third rounder?
what's that? Their first, according to this, they have their first, second, and third round pick this year, Tony. Cap Friendly.
They have a first round pick.
When I'm looking at a Cap Friendly,
Okay, where at? Do we know?
no, you won't know. It'll be inverse based on the standings. If the Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup, they go 32nd. If they don't make the playoffs and they have the 17th best record, then that's where they'll pick 15th overall. That's how that
Okay.
works.
I don't know where I got this
So
info from, but the Riley Smith trade, they did get a third round pick, and Aiden Hill, they did get a pick, and that flip flop with CBJ, but I don't know. So they still have their other picks, is what you're saying, as well as these additional picks. Okay,
per
we're good.
Cap Friendly, Golden Knights this year, first, second, third, fifth, sixth, and seventh. Plus, they have an additional 7th round pick with CBJ. That's what
Okay.
Cap Friendly says right now. So making trades happen and such, we're seeing first round draft picks starting to be thrown around a little bit. The Golden Knights, like you said, fringe AHL, NHL players, Brendan Brisson, Luke Cormier, Morelli. I mean, we'll see what someone like Morelli brings in a trade. Rempel, I don't think has much trade value. I still think the Golden Knights, I don't know if I'm on an island on this, but I still say the Golden Knights were showcasing Miramonov. Korzak is one of their best assets right now as well. I'm not suggesting any of these fellows be traded. I'm simply acknowledging what the Golden Knights have to dangle in potential trades. Jake Guentzel's salary cap hits is going to be, and he's $6 million. I believe he's a pure rental as well.
He's a rental. Yeah, he's a free agent. He's a free
agent next year. So $6 million. Honestly, here's the angle I'll give real fast. I know we're going long in this segment, but familiarity, right? Alex Pietrangelo comes to Vegas. Ivan Barbashev comes to Vegas. Things worked out pretty well with Ivan Barbashev and Pietrangelo here. Tarasenko. The Golden Knights I'm sure they're very familiar with him from their scouting, especially with all the times they were scouting Barbashev. Tarasenko was there for a lot of that too. Tarasenko, of course, knows Pietrangelo and Barbashev well. So that right there, and Cassidy knows Tarasenko well from when they played in the Stanley Cup final as well. I like the familiarity of someone coming in who can just get right in. Riley Smith as well certainly fits that mold. Although I want to know if Brendan Brisson would end up having to change his number, assuming how that whole thing works out. So you bring in 2 players that have that familiarity. Tarasenko can be that high volume scorer. He's not as lethal of a scorer as Jake Guentzel is. We'll certainly acknowledge that. But he's also $1 million cheaper on the AAV. Golden Knights would have to find a way to make $10 million work for those 2 players. Mark Stone is 9.5. They can find a way to finagle that, and whatever Tony says about how the Golden Knights do that. But give me Guentzel, give me Riley, or give me Riley Smith, give me Tarasenko. I'm out on Guentzel.
Okay. Coming up next, we'll have our locks of the night for today and our predictions. And man, oh man, do I really love these 4 o'clock starts. We'll get into that next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights. We remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number 1 choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey, because you could win up to 100 times your cash. Definitely check it out. And you have to pick out what players would you take to win the 100 times money. And you can also play daily fantasy NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, college football, and more on Sleeper. And you can connect with other fans. And you have to figure out who will record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, for assists, for saves, plus, minus, and much, much more in a given game. To win 100 times your bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8-player stats. You heard us, VGK fans. You can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention. Make sure that you nail your picks so you could start winning big. Use the promo code LOCKDOWNNHL, and you will get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKDOWNNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use. Welcome back. Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Thanks for the birthday wishes on the 29th, even though it's not my birthday. So on Facebook, you could change your birth date up to 8 times. And so I just got tired originally of people wishing me a happy birthday. I don't need any more attention. I get enough from Canada on this podcast. So I changed it the 8th time, and I think I put down February 29th as my birthday, and then that was it. You can't change it anymore. And so I wake up to happy birthday wishes, and thank you so much, but no thanks. Tomorrow, WTF, that could be WTF tomorrow. On WTF on Friday, we will take, again, 3 of the best comments, and we will award you with tickets for the Vegas Thrill against Atlanta. That's women's professional volleyball going on at the Dollar Loan Center. So that's happening tomorrow. So please keep those coming. We have some terrific comments each and every week. So don't stop there. And then on Saturdays, don't forget, it is the Chris and Chris show with @TD Chris G and @TD Chris GJR. Is he going to get a Twitter X handle sooner or later? That's a YouTube exclusive, by the way. No, not even with parental guidance, huh? Not going to happen.
Twitter's a cesspool, bro. Like, I don't know how else to say it.
Okay, what are the odds? What odds are you seeing on whether Cassidy wears the Stanley Cup ring behind the bench tonight? What would you say? Minus 110 in each direction?
I think no. That's way too generous. I need
that would be the ultimate.
I think minus 120 on both sides.
That would be the ultimate flex, though. Could you imagine?
Yes, but now Cassidy is directing attention to himself and taking attention away from.
He won't wear it, and he's not going to wear it.
I think from that perspective, I don't think he's going to wear it. But I wouldn't take it as a terrible thing if he did either.
It's pretty funny, actually. Okay, it's time for our locks of the night and predictions. Little Chris not around? No? Okay, let's see. I'll do this. Okay, so we told you that Boston has played the past 6 games past regulation, which is the craziest stat I've ever heard. And they've lost 4 of those. Tonight, they play into overtime against VGK, and I've got the Beantowners with a win 4-3. I'm going to go with Alex Pietrangelo. Why? Because he actually blocked shots the other night, 5 of them. He actually took shots. He took 4 shots, for crying out loud. Pietrangelo is going to stand. I do think the defensemen right now have a different role, and I think they're going to be attacking once again. And we talked about that in our preview of the Toronto game, and it came to life there. I've got Pietrangelo, but I also have Michael Amadio, because we're talking about deflections and players that go in front of the net and guys that go into that dirty area. And I think Amadio is our guy. 4-3 Boston in overtime is my prediction.
You said Amadio. Who is your other one? Amadio and who?
Pietrangelo. He actually stood in front of the puck. He blocked 4 shots.
All right. Stevenson and Marchessault. I'm going to go chalk again right now. It just seems like those two are heating up at the right time.
Madness yet. It's leap day.
It's been February, and February is so madness for Marchessault. It's been 23-24 of Marchessault madness. I mean, he's just, I was going back with someone on X and Twitter who wondered if Marchessault was a product of the system. I said he's been prospering under 3 separate systems. Outside of the 3 systems Marchessault has prospered under, he's prospering under a continuously changing environment as far as line mates and stuff goes. So I've never not believed in Marchessault's ability. I've been concerned about Marchessault's financial compensation after this season, and I'm on the Marchessault train. If it's going to cost the Golden Knights 6.5 or 7 million, then so be it. I'm in on Marchessault, and ride or die at this point. Ride or die at this point for Marchessault. So Stevenson and Marchessault, I just like what Stevenson's doing as of late. I think he's trying to really cement himself and get set up for a good playoff run with the team. And Stevenson is showcasing his talents for also financial compensation, whether it's in Vegas or elsewhere after the season is over. So big game for both of them. Chandler, Marchessault, 3-2 Golden Knights overtime. And a little nugget. So I got a friend who gave me this heads up. This was after the Bruins Golden Knights game. We're going back whenever that was, earlier in the season. That was the game where was it Stone or Pietrangelo who had the overtime goal that game? I forgot who wound up with the quick overtime goal, but the Boston Bruins defense completely just collapsed. I feel like it might have been Mark Stone that game. And after the game was over in the tunnel, it was reported to me that Pasta and Brad Marchand were having a shouting match, almost to the point where the security working the game went and got in between them. It was getting that ugly between the two of them. So I can't imagine what it's like now up there in Boston with all these overtime losses, because obviously Pasternak and Marchand are going to be on the ice for probably 2 of the 5 minutes of the extra period. So we'll see if there's a little side action going on between those two.
Yeah, we'll see if Montgomery cannot control this team. I feel like things could be slipping away there in Boston. Did Calgary, on another note, did they get enough in a trade for Chris Tanev yesterday?
Yeah, I forgot about this. Did they get enough? So what was the defenseman, a prospect, and a second round pick? I mean, I feel like no.
They got Grishnikov. They got a second round pick in 24, a third round pick in 26 for Chris Tanev and goaltender Cole Brady going to Dallas.
But there's a condition that a third round pick. If the Stars do not advance to the Stanley Cup final, then the Flames will not receive the pick.
Well, that's the dumbest thing ever.
How about that for a condition? Oh my God.
That's awful.
I don't know which team has less faith. I feel like that's the Dallas Stars not having faith in getting to the Stanley Cup final when they put that condition in there.
Were the Devils involved somehow, some way in the middle of this?
I think they retained. They got a fourth round pick from Dallas. So
I
don't know how
the only way that VGK is going to do business is by having that third partner. I still say teams do not want to deal with the VGK. I say
someone pointed this out on YouTube, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
That was awesome. How great was that? Everyone has a price. Okay.
Everyone has a price.
Again, tomorrow's WTF, and we will have the ticket giveaway for women's professional volleyball with the Vegas Thrill for Monday night, which is also college night. It's going to be a ton of fun out there at the Dollar Loan Center. And on Saturday, YouTube exclusive, Chris and Chris show. So please tune in there. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco. Happy Leap Day, everyone. And maybe Bruce Cassidy wears his cup ring there behind the bench tonight. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.